Let me ask you honestly, when was the last time you bought a magazine? I don't know about you, but for me it's probably getting on 10 years. We have such a plethora of wonderful things online these days that I just kind of forgot they existed. But when I was little, there were quite a few I was into. National Geographic, there was this bug one where they'd send you a dead bug in resin every month. I still have them. And then there was Pocket World, or Pokemon World, which was what it was called back when I read it. Official Pokemon magazines have been pretty rocky in the UK at best. They actually do have one that's been running for a couple years now, but it's definitely geared toward younger readers. A lot of puzzles and anime transcripts, and don't forget all the free gifts. You can't even get the thing off without ripping the whole... Whoa, take a look, it's paint your own Pikachu. I'm gonna paint this with all the colours of my heart. But Pokemon World was actually a completely unofficial magazine, and wow, it was really good. First released in 2000, every issue was around 50 pages long, but the amount that they packed into every page was crazy. You could really just feel the enthusiasm that the team poured into it. Being an unofficial magazine, they had a lot more room to breathe with the sort of topics they could cover. There'd be Pokemon history features, there was Muse News where they'd talk about new releases, comprehensive guides. They even had their own Pokemon expert, Professor Yu, who would answer questions from readers. Side note, for years I didn't understand his name because I'd never heard of a yew tree before, and then I realized years later that all the professors are named after trees and it all makes sense now. Okay, thanks. There was a feature on Pokemon stuff in Japan, or Pokebay where they'd look at obscure Pokemon stuff you could buy online, like a 2004 Groudon Pokédoll for £19. You ain't gonna get it for that much these days, trust me. Still, I think that's really cool, so I'm gonna revive it. We're gonna have our own Pokebay, right here, right now. For $10.99 you can get a super old Pokemon room greeter. For $45 you can get a model Pokemon airplane. For $98 you can get spoons from the Pokemon Cafe. For £28 you can get yourself a Pokemon Dojinshi. Why did I write this? For £28 you can get yourself a Pokemon Dojinshi. Oh, is that like a spin-off manga? Oh, cute. Oh. No, Pokebay's cancelled. I think what made Pokemon World so special is how they really embraced the community. The regular content was already nice, but the way they made the fan interactions into a central pillar of the magazine was part of what made it so great for me. I look back on their issues and see Sarah B staring at me, or PLDH, there are tons of familiar faces. They publish stuff from their forums, they feature people's short stories, collections, trainer card photos, artwork. Wow, that one's really good. Lewis, age 9. My favourite section was always Design a Monster, where people would draw their own fake mon and send them in. I never sent anything in though, cause, you know, I don't draw things. Most kids' magazines will include free gifts to try and bribe kids into buying them. Usually some sort of toy or something shiny. And Pokemon World did include free gifts, but theirs were actually good. The magazine itself was packed full of content, but they went above and beyond with the gifts. They'd print their own little books with puzzles and game guides. I still have a few from back then, but I didn't quite realize the scale of it until I did a bit of research. I bought a whole box of them. This is not all of them. Do I have room for these? No. There's so much content here, it's crazy. There's TCG lists, Pokedexes, puzzles, reviews, cheat codes, so many strategy guides. They even have a little book for the Pokemon Mini. I find this far more exciting than I should. Looking through the magazine, it looks like they published their own annuals as well. It's a lot. I didn't have the official strategy guides when I first started playing, and I didn't know about the internet either, so these guides were my go-to when I was stuck on something. Just look how worn this book is from little Lucy constantly flipping back and forth. I have to acknowledge the nicknames that they gave to the Pokemon in this because some of them are just golden. We've got Derek the Graveler, Cumberbill the Pidgeotto, Clive the Weeping Bell, and a Typhlosion named... Oh, this was a kid's magazine. Beautiful beyond words. I wondered how on earth this slipped through the net, but even better is that it's in this book twice, but they censor it out the third time. All's well here. I also noticed that the Cyndaquil at the beginning doesn't have a nickname, so if the person gathering images was using the same file, then they would have had to specifically go out of their way to rename it when they got to Goldenrod. Too good. They made a bunch of drawing guides for Pokemon, which I never did because even at a young age I convinced myself that art was an innate skill that I just didn't have, so why embarrass myself by even trying? My favorite one is this one, which I'm gonna go out on a limb and say was probably printed before the official artwork for Ruby and Sapphire came out because, well, I'll show you. Okay, so they had the official pose for Tailo, and they made do with the sprite for Marshtomp, but some of these I feel like they kind of just made up. This Skitty has eyes. Mudkip looks kinda silly, but still passable, but then we get to Trico. What am I looking at? I'm not even gonna comment on the tongue, but I stared at this thing for like 10 minutes straight and I still can't figure out what's going on with its tail. It has these two random giant segments, but they're in front of the body? What? This is bothering me more than it should. I swear, the drawings that came out of the pre-release days of old are just a completely different and beautiful art form in itself. I think that they really had the scope right with what kind of readers they were targeting. I can't claim to know what demographics their subscribers were, mostly kids I'm guessing, but I do know that I was pleasantly surprised when rereading some of the issues. Yeah, it's kid-friendly, they've got these silly little dialogue bubbles here and there, but I don't feel patronized reading it. If it was still running today, I would support it. There are parts that I'd enjoy more as a kid and parts that I enjoy more as an adult, but that's part of its luster. This is starting to remind me a lot of a certain YouTube issue, so I'm gonna stop now. I was never subscribed, but I stopped reading it and, well, magazines in general, a little before Gen 5 came out. It actually wasn't too much longer than this in 2012 when they rebranded as Pocket World and spread out to general gaming, but still with a heavy focus on Pokemon. It ran for 3 more years before finally publishing its last issue in October of 2015. It's hard to say what their undoing might have been. Perhaps readers that were only interested in Pokemon dropped off after they diversified, or perhaps it was just too difficult to keep up in a market that's just getting harder and harder when there's so much to compete with online. And while there were Pokemon resources online when I was buying Pokemon World, it just wasn't comparable to what we have today. Even though I've been playing practically my whole life, I didn't really start getting into the online Pokemon community until my teens. The kids these days are a lot more tech savvy than I was back then, and so they have many different avenues to explore their interests. How do you think I have a job? But when I was younger, I didn't have any friends that played Pokemon, so this magazine was the only peek that I ever had into the larger world of Pokemon fans for a long time. And that's something I'm really grateful for. Gone but not forgotten. Thank you, Pokemon World, for making me feel like I was part of a community and for teaching me to never diversify into anything that's not Pokemon. Hello, hi. This is technically my first video of 2020. The last one was recorded last year, so thanks for your patience. Part of the reason I've been taking so long is because I've been juggling way too many projects at once. This was one of them. But what I'm trying to say is that I've got a lot planned. Like my live streams. Yes, I do that again. I remembered I haven't played Gen 2 ever, so I've been playing it every day on my Twitch for the past week or two, including tonight. Probably an hour or two after this goes up. I always start at 9 PM GMT, please come. I'm probably gonna stream more after I finish Crystal, but we've been having a lot of fun over there. I made a bunch of new emotes. Look at them, ooh! Okay, that's all I wanted to say. Thank you, bye.